Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the American Bowhunter, the official podcast of PSE. And the season is getting close. We see more and more guys and girls getting into the bow hunting side of things and gravitating towards elk hunting, the Western style hunting. So we've seen a big influx of it here in Eastern North Carolina. So that's what we're talking about today. We're looking at guys that are looking to get into the elk hunting side of things and kind of an entry-level guide to them. And I've got a great guest here, Zack Rhoades, who has a huge amount of experience just in the woods in general, from the East Coast to the West Coast. So Zack, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So you've been, as far as a hunter goes, you are the hunter from rifle hunting to bow hunting. You've just excelled in it really, really well. Especially you had a really good season last year.
I had a hell of a season. Yeah.
And it seems like anywhere you go, no matter what state you go to, you just have an eye for being out in the wilderness. You just are able to pick up on things, retrain really well. So that's why I wanted to bring you in today and kind of talk about, the elk hunting side of things, because you were a guide too. So just a ton of experience, man. Yeah. So as far as like first experiences for you with the elk hunting side of things, when did you get into elk hunting?
So I was in the Air Force. I got stationed out in Wyoming for the Air Force. And a good buddy of mine, he was like, we should go elk hunting. I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. And I had no idea what I was doing. And we got like one of those wall tents, big wall tent, spent a bunch of money, and went out, and we took leave from the 10th of September until the end of the month. And we were like, we're not coming out of these mountains until we kill an elk.
That's committed.
Oh man. It's like September 20th. And we were like, gosh, this sucks.
Not what I thought it was going to be.
It was I'll say this, and this is for everybody that's thinking of going out west. If you think you're going to go to the elk woods and be like, this is the funnest time I've ever had, this is great, you're in for a rude awakening. Let me tell you, it is something that is incredible. It is incredible. But when you hear a bull bugle on the next ridge and you're like, oh, we can get to him, and you get to that next ridge, and then he's gone and he's on the next ridge, and then he goes quiet and you're like, oh man, well, time to go back to camp. And you look at your GPS and it's 6.4 miles back to camp, and you're like, oh my gosh, it sucks. And
that's different too, because especially if you come from the East Coast and you go to the West Coast,
it's just up and down, up and down. And if you're going out west to kill an elk, and your main goal is to kill an elk, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it. I'm telling you that. But if you go out west with the mindset of, I'm going to go into the mountains and feel tiny, and spend 3 weeks and feel just, I'm going to spend 3 weeks in Mother Nature with the animals and look at it as that way. And if I kill one, it's even better. You're going to love it. But if you go up there just saying, I'm going to kill an elk, you're going to hate it.
Especially as a first time elk hunter, huh?
Mm-hmm. And it's just, the story of how I killed my first elk was silly.
Let's talk about that. So let's go ahead and jump right into that. Let's hear that story right off the rip.
So, I've always been very good at learning from things that I'm not doing, or, like mistakes that I'm making. Why did he do this? Why did he do that? And, so we had an issue with where we'd have a herd bull, or we'd be talking to a bull and we try to call him from this outrageous distance away. And the more I thought about it, I said, you need to get closer to him. You need to move. You need to be in his comfort zone, and you got to be in his bedroom pretty much. And so, like, my buddy goes, hey, I'm going to stay here. I'm like, all right, I'm going to move. I'm going to try this. So I dumped down off this mountain, and it shoots down into a big meadow. And this meadow is probably 2-3 miles long. So I'm working down the meadow, and that bull kind of is up to my left about probably 500-600 yards. My buddy's working it, and the bull goes quiet. I said, I'm going to keep moving down this meadow. I'm going to keep cow calling. Mistake number one I made, don't ever call in the middle of a meadow. Because if an elk comes in, you have nothing around you.
Oh, so you didn't have any anything
No.
to get behind?
No.
Or?
I'm just walking down this middle of this meadow, cow calling. And I get probably a mile away from my buddy. I would say, at least I thought. I was much further. And I cow call, and I hear some crashing coming down off this mountain towards the meadow. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And here comes this spike bull. And he drops down right into the middle of the meadow, and he's standing there looking. He's about 150 yards away, looking up the opposite direction. And I cow call to him one time. And he turns and comes straight at me. Well, Zach, I have nothing between me. So I'm standing there, and this bull's coming right at me. And I'm shaking like a leaf. And now all I can find is I'm 6 foot. There's probably the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. That's all I have. So I'm standing there, and I'm like just shaking. I'm like, oh my gosh. And this little tree, is maybe 3.5, 4 feet tall and has like 4 branches off the side of it. Well, this bull's coming. And at this time, I've never seen a bigger animal in my life. I'm from Massachusetts, moved out to Wyoming, first year elk hunting, and here comes this bull right at me. Oh my gosh. So I clip into the release, and he gets to within like 15 yards. And then I start to get intimidated. Where I'm like, what if he just like walks over me, So I kind of move a little bit. And he sees me, and he kind of jolts and runs away, and I draw my bow back, and I just made some terrible mew with my mouth. It didn't sound like anything, but I think it was just enough that he didn't know what I was, and he turned and stopped broadside at 30 yards. I let one rip, and I hit him right where I was aiming, and he ran about 40 yards, and he started to stumble. So I start screaming. I'm like, oh, God. Well, he hears me, takes off more. So I go quiet, and then he runs another 10 yards and falls. It was stupid. I shouldn't have killed that elk. You know what I mean? But I got lucky, and I had no idea what I was doing. I had no clue what in the world was going on, but I think the number one thing is I got there the 10th of September. It was the 21st of September.
You guys stayed in the backcountry that whole time?
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, you want to talk about a ripe smell. When you're sitting in the woods and you're like, I can smell myself. Yeah.
You know what's funny, man? When you talk to guys, they're like, guys that are going out west for the first time, and you talk to more seasoned elk hunters, they're like, everybody's got this extravagant plan. They're going to go, they're going to set up a base camp. They're going to have these spike camps. And you see guys that go out there, and they're out there for a day or two, and they end up back at a hotel. It's just a different type of hunting and a different mentality required to be out west in that type of terrain, because that's big country and you're away from a lot. And there's a lot of, when it's quiet or it's dark, your mind can get the best of you.
It's out there, well, eastern North Carolina, sure, you got some big black bears, but you really have nothing to worry about. But Savage Run, Wyoming, in the Snowy Mountain Range, that's big. I think I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's like 14 miles one direction without a road. And there's mountain lions. There's animals out there that'll eat you, and you're walking in the dark, and then you kill one, and you're walking out with 100 pounds of meat on your back. It takes a little bit to get used to, and it takes that mental fortitude of being like, no, I'm going to keep my feet moving. I'm going to keep moving. I'm not going to quit.
Yeah, I think there's a mindset that's required that you kind of got to brace yourself for when you go out there. And you really brought up a good point is, especially as a first-time hunter, especially an elk hunter, and you've never been out somewhere like that, the expectations should probably not – a lot of people set these really high expectations. You got to be a little bit reasonable or realistic with yourself. A lot of it is going out there, first-time experience, and taking in everything that out there has to offer.
Absolutely. It's not about – it is about killing. That's why you bring a bow or a rifle. I'm not saying that. But if you go out there with the intention of – I'm not going to have a good trip unless I kill an animal.
Especially as we're talking like DIY, right? Doing it yourself, not guided.
Right. DIY, doing it yourself. Learning it yourself. And when you fail, what we started to do is we would sit down after we have a bull come in, and be like, what did we do, or not come in? You know, what did we do wrong here? What did he do that we didn't expect? And what can we do to learn from that? And when we started to do that and break things down and see what they were doing, we started to put pieces together, you know, and then it got good. It got fun. It got where we could figure out what he was doing and why and what we could do to stop him from doing that.
Yeah, I think that's a big takeaway too, is learning from your failures, right? And those failures can be right away and immediate, and then you reflect on those and then apply those to the next day, right? Mm-hmm. Just constantly evolving on the hunt, especially for you guys being out there as long as you were.
Yep, that's exactly it. It's just, and people will say, and I agree with it, elk hunting is the hardest thing you'll ever do until it's time to kill one, right? I mean, you're going to go out there and you're like, gosh, I can't do anything right. And then that one day, that bull, there's going to be a bull and he's going to not want to get killed, but everything lines up and you can't do anything wrong. And here he is. And you have no idea how or why he didn't blow you, or why he didn't blow you up or anything like that. And all of a sudden here he is, and you kill him. And you're like, how did that work?
It's like the stars aligned and everything just clicked.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing. It's truly hours and hours of not boredom, but hours and hours of suffering. Let's say that, if it really is suffering, but for moments of pure chaos, followed by, if you don't have horses or like pack llamas or anything, so you have hours of suffering followed by moments of pure chaos and excitement and joy, back to, oh my gosh, I just killed an elk. Now I have to quarter this thing up and carry it out on my back. And it goes right back to like the hours of suffering.
Until you get it all loaded up and you're like, we did it.
And you get back to camp and you're exhausted and every muscle in your body hurts. And you look and you've got meat strung out, everywhere, and you're like, man, I can't wait to come back.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible for your first time going out, especially with a bow, to be successful. I mean, you guys put in the work. You were out there for, a lot of guys go out there, we see them 7 to 9 days. You guys were out there for what was it? 2 weeks?
Total that season, we had hunted from, I killed my bull the 21st, and then my buddy, we ended up killing his bull the 29th.
Oh, wow. You guys both tagged out.
Yeah.
Man.
And it's just the mindset of, I'm not going to quit. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. I want to sleep in. But you wake up and you just go.
Yeah. So let's backtrack a little bit right there. That's a great way to kick things off. I mean, that's an incredible story, right? Yeah. But let's look at the planning side now. So you've gained a lot of experience since that first initial interaction or that first initial hunt out there. But when it comes to planning an elk hunt now, what are some of the things that you consider, especially when it comes to like choosing a state?
I think a lot of people overlook Wyoming.
Right? That somebody else just brought that up, man.
Yeah, a lot of people overlook Wyoming. Everybody wants to go Colorado. Oh, Colorado. Well, number one, they have roughly the same elk size herd, I believe. And don't quote me on this. I don't know the exact numbers, but I can tell you there's a lot more hunters in Colorado. So Colorado's great, and they kill some giant bulls in Colorado. Don't get me wrong. Wyoming has a great elk herd. Idaho's got a great one. Montana's got a great one. So I think when it comes to planning, look at how long it's going to take to draw. And I'm not saying that the best thing to do is go over the counter, because a lot of times if you can go over the counter, that coincides with a lot of hunting pressure. Look for that tag that's 3 to 5 years. It takes you 3 to 5 years to draw. Laramie Peak in Wyoming, outrageously good elk hunting. The bulls, a lot of them, they're broken up. like antler wise, it's broke because they're all mad. They're all mad. I mean, if you want to bugle a bull in, Laramie Peak's the way to do it. And that's a 2 to 3 year draw as a resident. So as a non-resident, you're looking probably 5 to 8 years. That's a great way to go about it. So I would say more along the lines of, don't just go for a place where you can, okay, I want to go elk hunting this year. Okay, I'm going to go to a place where I can over-the-counter draw. Well, that's great. You can do that, and you can be successful, but do your homework, figure out, what state you want to go to, what areas are good, look at the harvest reports, because they say about 10% of people kill an elk with their bow. So out of 100 hunters, 10 of them will kill one with their bow. So look at harvest reports. Look up what the wolves are doing too. I mean, I don't want to get into that topic of things, but where the wolves are at, they're affecting wolves. They're affecting elk numbers for sure.
The herd population.
Absolutely. But look at that, and then look at the ease and the length of time it is to draw. So for me, when I go back out, I'm going to go to the Snowy Mountains in Wyoming. I'm going to go to Savage Run or Platte Wilderness, one of those two. I've killed bulls in both of those. I've killed bulls in the Sierra Madres. I've called an elk in Laramie Peak. They're everywhere. I think it's not as much of what state to go to, or the elk are going to be where you find them, right? If you don't hunt hard and you go a mile from your truck and you're like, oh man, I don't really want to be out after dark. I'm going to get back to camp before dark, or things like this, your chances are going down. You know what I mean? Hunt hard and make the most out of your time. And your chances there's a good chance you're going to kill one.
Yeah, you got to stack everything in your favor. You got to put in that extra legwork and that effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, it's a growing thing. We see more and more people that want to get into hunting, and especially the elk hunting side of things. Yep. So the more people that want to get into it, obviously, the greater the hunting pressure is going to be, and the more people out there that you're going to encounter, depending on where you go within reason, right? So a lot of this requires a lot of pre-planning. So if you're going to invest the time and the energy to go out of state, and especially go to spend this kind of money to, whether it's drive or fly out there, whether you go guided or unguided, you need to take the time and do some pre-planning. And when it comes to the pre-planning side of things, what's your approach to a state or a zone that you have the ability to hunt? Do you start with the e-scouting side of things before you ever get on the ground and you just plot points of interest? How does that work for you?
That's exactly what we would do. Yep. And so we'd look at terrain and say, hey, this is a huge canyon and a big river bottom. We can see elk maybe using this river out to get water, stuff like that, big meadows, and just points of interest. And the number one mistake I believe that hunters make, and I see people do it every year, because every year I've talked to somebody that's like, oh, I'm going out west. I'm going to go on elk hunt. And I'm like, I'd say to them, if the elk aren't there, move. And they'll spend the first 5 days, they'll go opening weekend in September where it's 90 degrees. The elk aren't talking much, if at all. I mean, sure, there's the outliers where am I saying that you can't kill an elk on September 1st? I'm not saying that at all. If you want to go for the rut on state land, it's not September 1st. It's not September 10th. It's the 15th to the end of the month. That's when you're going to get the bulls that are bugling. So these guys, they'll go to a spot and they'll be like, man, for the first 4 days, we didn't see any sign. What are y'all doing? They're not there. Move. Well, we're seeing sign. Is it fresh? No. Well, then find the elk. The elk are going to be where you find them.
It's a great saying.
It's a great saying. The elk are where you find them. So if they're not there, go somewhere else.
You think people get really that locked in on an area because of one, how it looks, or what they think is where the elk would be, and they just are, again, maybe they put the blinders on, they're like, this is where we need to be, and then it's almost in a paralysis by analysis, and they don't move?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's big in just hunting in general for bow hunters.
Exactly.
That's one thing about you that I know is you are willing to move. You are not set in on anywhere. And we've talked about this before, and I've said, I'm like, man, you can go with a group of people. You're with a group. You, for some reason, always end up where the animals are. Mm-hmm. And I attribute that to your willingness, one, your woodsmanship skills, right? You're very well versed from the trapping side to you hunt all year round from all these different game. And then your willingness to pivot. If you see something that you like, you'll move to it. If there's something you don't like, I mean, you're going to get away from it. Yep. I think that's the big thing with you. And it's funny because we were talking about it. I remember earlier, it was either this year or last year, because you had such a good season last year on public land in the Eastern North Carolina hunting whitetail with a bow. I was just always kind of enamored, like, man, how are you always where the deer are? And I mean, your approach is good, man.
Yeah. Just they're where you find them.
They're where you find them. It's very simple, but I mean, it works.
And people overcomplicate it. So, back to what you were saying earlier about, the e-scouting and stuff like that. It can only get you so far. So what we would do is we would hunt during the day, obviously. Can't hunt them at night. But when it got dark, and let's just say we had a really rough hunt, and we had a lot of them. You're going to have that hunt where you don't hear a bugle, you hear nothing, you're nowhere in the game, and you're like, okay, that's the time when you're like, we need to move, or we need to come up with a different game plan. And I'm not saying move across the county, the next ridge over, 2-3 miles over, something like that. Try that. And just look for, they're a big animal. They're a big animal. They're going to show tracks, fresh tracks. They're scat. I mean, especially if you're getting into like a herd of elk, you're going to know they're there. So what we would do is we'd back out and we would drive the roads, and we would bugle out of the truck. And we used to call it, let's get the party started. If they weren't talking, well, that night we would get them all fired up.
At night?
At night.
Oh, okay.
We would go out and we'd bugle off the road. We'd listen to them bugle. We'd push in 100 yards into the woods, and we would just start bugling and everything like that, and trying to get these bulls fired up.
So let me ask you this, with doing something like that, is that legal in all states, or?
That I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. You'd have to obviously check your regulation.
But whenever you were doing that, I'm assuming you can't have a weapon with you.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be one thing I would encourage listeners to be leary of, or err on the side of caution. If you do take that approach, make sure you read your hunting state rules and regulations, so you don't get yourself in a bind.
Correct. Make sure it's legal, which we were at that time. We weren't carrying around bows and everything like that, or we'd bugle out of camp. We would just sit there in camp and bugle out of camp. And we'd have bulls talk back to us, bugle back to us. We'd know, okay, hey, listen, this is where they're at. This is what we're looking for and stuff like that. And we would go from there. So a lot of our scouting was done by talking to them, by listening for bugles and figuring out where these elk were at.
Are they more vocal at night?
I think so.
Depending on the time of year?
Yeah. Yeah, it's because it's cooler and there's less hunting pressure.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we would typically gather more intel. We had a really rough day. Okay, hey, let's overlook this big canyon. Bring a bugle tube, bugle. We'd sit there and listen, and bang, we'd hear one fire off, and then we hear another, and then hey, there's 3 or 4 different bulls in this canyon right now. Cool, sounds good. And we'd back out. We'd go back to camp, and then next morning we'd go in, and we'd look at our map and be like, hey, this bull sounds like he's over on this ridge top here. This is what he's sounding like here. Where could they be coming down to, or things like that? And then we would game plan that night, and then we would go from there. Interesting.
So, and I guess this kind of moves into like elk behavior. So depending on, obviously, animals, their behavior varies depending on the time of year, right? Mm-hmm. So when the season opens up, you were talking about right out of the gate, right out of the rip, not hunting the first opening weekend, but waiting a little bit. So how does the elk behavior change as the season kind of progresses from, early season to late season?
So actually that's a cool question. So, your bulls that time of year, they're loners. They're just like your big whitetail. They don't want to be in the family.
In early season?
Yeah. Well, let's talk like from the summer months before the rut.
Okay.
Pre-rut, before any of that. And especially your big bulls, your big, old, mature bulls. They're in the roughest terrain they can find. They're away from everyone else. There's actually a guy in Wyoming, and he owned a bow shop out there. And he would take off 5 days every year. That was it. It was the 20th, 21st, 23rd, or the 20th through the 25th. And he was like, that's the only time those big bulls will be in the herd groups. Now, granted, I don't think that's true. Could be. But he says that a lot of those elk, the big, mature bulls, they're going to stay away from the herd. And then those satellite bulls, they would gather up all the cows, and they'd run the cows, and the big bulls would come in and blow those satellite bulls out, breed the cows, and then they'd be gone.
It's a good move.
It's fantastic.
That's smart.
Yeah, I mean, but so there's that, you know. But what I noticed was you would have your big groups of cows, and then you would have your smaller bulls, immature bulls that would be wrapped up in there. And then once the rut started to pick up, you would have those more mature bulls start to move in. And then another thing we learned too was that this is how we learned it, by mistakes. We were working a group of elk, and there was probably 40, 50 cows and a nice 6x. Not super heavy, not super tall, but really long. And he was extremely call shy, where we would try to push the envelope and get close to him. We'd bugle at him, and he just pushed his cows away from us. So we start chasing after him. You know, when you're chasing a herd of elk, don't be quiet.
So that's one thing I heard, which is a strange, you know, when you think hunting, you're like, man, everyone needs to tiptoe. We need to watch where you're stepping. That's one thing I was talking about. Some guys from Colorado that come through the shop, they were like, man, you don't have to be quiet whenever you're chasing these things.
No, I would intentionally make noise. I mean, when I was just calling, I'd have like a stick, and I'd be running through the woods, and I just hit off trees and break branches and stuff. I mean, when they're fired up and there's, you know, bulls chasing cows or bulls chasing another bull off, they're making noise. So we're running through the woods. I mean, just full tilt running in the woods trying to get in front of this herd. It's another thing we learned as well. Once you get behind them, you're kind of screwed.
Never going to catch them.
Never going to catch them. So we were running through the woods trying to catch these elk. And I looked to my right as I'm running, and there's this bull just looking at us like, I mean, and he was a nice bull. He was a rackhorn 5x5. I mean, if you want to go out west on a DIY hunt and you've never hunted elk before and you want to kill a 350-inch bull, good luck. You know, let me know how it goes.
The realities of it.
The realities of it. That 5x5, he's just as good and he's just as hard. But we learned that around these big herds of elk with these big bulls in them, there were so many satellite bulls around within 300-400 yards, and they wouldn't make a noise, but they were around it, and they were just looking for straggler cows. And so what we started to do was we'd get into this herd. If the big bull didn't want to work, cool, sounds good, and we would push off like 200 yards in the opposite direction, and we'd start cow calling real soft and moving away. And then we'd sit down, and we'd cow call. And we would have satellite bulls come into us all the time. Because they were but you don't hear them. So you're like, it's just him. No, there's satellite bulls all over the place.
Oh man, that's just right there. That's from experience.
Mm-hmm. That's from running by a bull at 30 yards like this, and he's just like, see you later, man, and takes off. We're like, damn it.
Oh man,
that was a missed opportunity. But yeah, I mean,
was it really a missed opportunity though? Because I mean, you look at it now. I mean, you learned so much from that little split second, man.
Absolutely.
Like, okay, I'm going to enact this and put this into play now and use it towards my advantage.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a good learning experience, but that bull was not playing. He was. I'm telling you, all I saw when I looked over was him looking at me, and then as soon as he realized what I was, and I realized what he was gone and into the next county. I mean, he was flying out of there. And you want to talk about loud and noisy? I mean, booger up an elk and watch him run away, and it sounds like World War III going off.
Yeah, it's amazing just how big those animals really are. And then you put swords on their heads, and you know, you're out there in the wilderness with them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Yep. There's yeah. So that's what we would do is if we couldn't get the herd bull to work with us, we would sit back and just cow call, and we'd have satellite bulls come to us. Not every time, but I killed a 5x5 raghorn, beautiful bull, 200 yards away from a huge group of elk, and he came in quiet and never made a peep, and I shot him at I think close to 7 yards.
Oh wow!
Oh, it was, silly. He was coming.
So everyone wants to hunt during the rut, right? That's when most people plan their hunts. And, maybe that's not a reality for some people, right? Because one, prior obligations, they just can't get that time of year off. Obviously you can go that first opening week or weekend or whatnot. When you see a lot of people head out there, that's when we see a lot of guys from here, they're heading out west right away. But what about a little bit later in the season? Is it still worth going and pursuing? I'm assuming the approach is just going to be a little bit different as far as calling, and
it's going to be a lot different.
So let's say we've already talked about like pre-rut, rut time. You get after the rut for somebody that's going a little bit later in the season. What's the approach? How do you approach, elk hunting differently during that time of year?
You're looking for pressure. You're not hunting elk, you're hunting the pressure. You want to talk about World War III. That's what it is, the Orange Army. There ain't no ifs, ands about it.
So as a bow hunter, you're already at a disadvantage.
Absolutely. In my opinion, and this is an unpopular one, and that's fine. If you're hunting elk on state land, let's just say we're talking state land. Our DIY guys, unless you are extremely charismatic and can get onto private property in the western part of the state or United States and hunt elk, I don't know what you did to convince those people to let you on their property. If so, congratulations. But I'm talking about the typical guy going out
blue collar dude that wants to go elk hunting. That's the majority of the people that we see.
Bring a rifle. If
after you're talking after the rut.
If it's rifle season, bring a rifle. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Yep.
You bring a rifle because, what you're looking for is places that elk are getting pushed into, and they're not going to be vocal.
So they change dramatically as far as being vocal versus not as soon as they get pressured real heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, so general rule of thumb, let's just say you draw a good tag. You've waited that 3 to 5 years and you've drawn a tag where it's, you got lucky and there's not as much hunting pressure. Awesome. Bring a bow. But for your average dude, bring a rifle, get away from hunters, look up avenues, get on Onyx or get on those maps and look at, okay, hey, here's this road here. And I know that there's been elk, or I have a feeling there'll be elk here. There's a lot of pressure here. I can see a lot of pressure being here. Well, here's a big canyon that pushes up into another next valley. I think these elk are going to get pressure and push up over this, and this is what they're going to use. And that's what we would target that way. So we would push up into that canyon. We'd get up super early. It'd be a 2.5, 3 hour walk, but you'd get up in there and then you'd hear the shooting start. And I never killed one with a rifle. I never killed a bull with a rifle.
So you're primarily a bow hunter then?
I killed all I killed all my bulls with a bow.
Impressive.
Yeah. I found it easier because there wasn't as much hunting pressure.
So as far as like later in the season, so are you having to push in much further than what you would earlier in the season just because the pressure is that much greater?
Yep. Early season, so many cool stories, but so many learning things as well. We pushed down to probably, I would say, half a mile, which isn't far off the road. We had just started our hunt. I let a bugle out, and I heard a bugle up at the road. I'm like, we just came from there not long ago. And I'm like, I think that's a hunter, but just to be sure, I'm going to bugle at him one more time. So I bugle at him one more time. It was halfway down the mountain. And I was like, that's quick. That's quick for a hunter. That dude's got to have like a surfboard and just flying down that mountain. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. And I hesitated. And I'm going to call one more time. And I bugled again. And that bull was up our butt, 100 yards coming. We didn't have the wind right. We didn't have nothing. And that it was over before it started. So, once again, the elk are where you find them. On average, we would walk a half a mile to a mile, and then we would start hunting. We didn't expect much to happen inside that half mile range of the road. But there's another time I had killed my bull on the 14th of September. We took the 10th to the end of the month off. I killed my bull on the 14th. There was that raghorn 5x5. And so I was just a caller, which I loved. I loved it, you know, just waking up every morning, hey, we kill when we kill, and if not, you know. So I let out a bugle. We're bugling from the road. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, trying to find these elk, and one fires off like 200 yards away. So we're all scrambling, and my buddy, he had some health issues, so he's got a crossbow, and he's trying to load this thing. So he's cranking it. It's like this bull's coming down the hill, and we can see it coming. And my buddy's doing this. It didn't work. I mean, it was a shit show. Excuse my language, but I mean, you've got the guy cranking his crossbow, trying to get. It was silly, but you just never know.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Gosh.
But, so yeah, it all depends on. I mean, they're huge animals, and they can cover some ground.
Yeah, they move quick. So your suggestion, anybody that wants to do the bow hunting side of things, right? Because that's what we're focused on. Just the amount of people in the bow hunting side of things continues to seem like it's growing, and they're wanting to head out west to do this hunt. So you're saying September is the month to be in the woods.
Absolutely.
Or to be out there if you're going to elk hunt. And that's typically what we see.
If you're going to elk hunt with a bow,
and you want the best odds in your favor,
go out there when there's not rifle hunters and when it's the rut. So I wouldn't waste my time, because there's a lot of guys who are like, hey, I can only get 2 weeks to go do this. Don't go the first week. Go the 15th to the end of the month. If you get 3 weeks, then go the 10th to there. If you can get a whole month off, September 1st to the 30 till the end of the season. You know what I mean? Just the most amount of time that you can put in the woods is what you need to do. But if you have to be selective on when you can go, the 15th to the end of the month.
Is that across the U.S. for the most part?
I think so.
Yeah. So middle of the month in September is the time to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That makes sense. So talking elk hunting, obviously there's a physical side to this, right? It's drastically different than your whitetail hunting on the East Coast, right? Where it's flat, you climb up. It's more of a passive style of hunting for most people. Obviously, when you go out west, it's a proactive style hunting. You got to be on the ground, moving, seeking, finding, trying to get on these elk. When it comes to your physical preparedness, I mean, is there anything special that you do to do it? Or is it just one of those, it's more of a mindset thing? Obviously, you have to have some physical capability, right? You can't go out there.
Absolutely.
But is it more of a mental thing that you've come across than a physical?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I lived in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I was Air Force. So we did a lot of PT. We ran all the time.
So you were already in good shape.
I was already in good shape.
Yeah.
I would go up into the mountains at 9,000 to 10,000 feet, get my butt whooped for the first 3 days, and then come down out of the mountains after elk season and be like, I'm ready to go, you know. But it's just one foot in front of the other. Just keep going.
So would you say, like, guys that are going out from the coast to
run with a pack on,
get used to having weight on your back, rucking, something, moving weight, because you're going to be covering that distance. I would assume the big thing would be making sure your legs, hips, knees, and feet are conditioned for
Absolutely. Nice boot or good boots,
covering ground with weight on your back.
A good pack, something that's going to keep the weight off your shoulders and around your hips, which is what you want. And just put miles on your feet and just go. And you don't have to, I would say not really run, just ruck. Just get, a huge thing in Wyoming, especially Colorado, is the beetle kill out there. It's a beetle about that long, and they wipe out pine trees, and they all fall. And then it's so dry out there, it takes forever for them to rot. So you'll be walking, and there'll be trees that are just laid over across each other. Well, you got to climb over them. You got to get over them, and it's exhausting. It is exhausting, and you're like, man, it took us 30 minutes to move a quarter of a mile, and then you blow that elk out, and he just hops and leaps and is through that in 10 seconds. And you're like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? But the best way I could describe it is or the best way I could say to prepare myself is get boots on, get a pack on, grab your bow, and go walk in the woods in eastern North Carolina or wherever you're at, and just go up and down hills. If you don't have hills, then go through thick stuff, because it's going to condition you to get over terrain and move through. And also it's going to be like, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. And then to train you to say, I'm just going to just do it.
Yeah. So obviously you don't have to do anything drastic. You need a level of physical fitness. Absolutely. And I think a good base fitness would do most people well, but making sure that I think the cardio base, right, is a big thing. And that's not running sprints. That's just being able to go a long time. So that zone 2 style training is what I would equate it to. So whether it's long, slow runs, whether you're on on a bike, just building up that base fitness and then putting on a pack, same thing, zone 2, that heart rate where you can still talk to somebody and just cover a lot of distance. Cause that's going to build up your feet, your knees, your hips, and the muscle in your legs to be able to take that repetitive abuse over a long term.
Exactly.
That movement. So what about getting acclimated out there, right? Would you have a suggestion from somebody that goes from, sea level to, the mountains, to before they really start getting on the ground and hit the ground running? Because I've seen people that have gone and they started a little too hard, a little too quick, and that 2-week trip turned into about a 4-day event. And I've seen it a bunch actually from people coming out here. They go, they think they're going to hit the ground running, and then they get there and they're like,
it's altitude sickness.
It's altitude sickness, and then their body they can't recover quick enough to maintain the hunt.
Yep. The only thing I could recommend, and what I used to tell what the outfitter I hunted for, he would say is that get here early. So if you're planning on hunting the 15th till whenever, get there the 13th and don't walk at all. Don't do anything strenuous. Just get up there in the mountains at that high elevation and relax. And just get used to that. Let your body acclimate to that high altitude. You don't need to be walking 5 to 6 miles the first day you're there. Sure. I mean, you can walk and go look around and stuff like that, but if you start breathing heavy, you're probably doing a little too much, right? So just get up there, sightsee, get excited, shoot your bow, work around camp, get ready. Give yourself a day of just doing that. Just allow your body to get acclimated to it. Some people, it's just going to happen to you. There's nothing you can do. You know what I mean? It's like getting seasick. Some people are, some people don't.
Right.
Yeah. But
ease into it.
Ease into it.
It's easy to get excited, man. You're like, we're here. We've only got, 7 days or 9 days. Let's go. And then after day 1 of huffing and puffing up and down the mountains, you're already at a disadvantage from having a higher heart rate from being, at altitude. And then your recovery is much slower than what it would be at sea level because, one, you're sleeping outside, you're not as comfortable, you're not fueled as effectively, maybe you're not as hydrated as you typically are. So you're already at a huge disadvantage, and then it just kind of snowballs from there.
Yep. And drink a lot of water. That's one thing I suck at. Now that I'm here, I'm just like, I don't need any water. And then there you go.
Drink a Monster Energy drink
I had
on
a
the
Red Bull
mountain
before I came in, so we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
But it's be prepared. That's what I
mentally prepare yourself for. It's probably going to suck, but you're going to have a lot of great memories. Don't expect anything. Go in there with just that mindset of it's going to be hard. I think if you can accept that it's going to be hard, you set yourself up to be in a better better state of mind.
Yep, a better mindset.
Yeah, better mindset.
Yep, and sit down and really come up with a game plan. I can say that I've learned way more from my mistakes when it comes to elk hunting than probably any other animal I've hunted, but I think everybody wants to get up there, and from the moment they get there, they're a million miles an hour. That's the wrong way to go about it. So for example, if you hear a bull bugle, and you're like, okay, hey, we got to get there. Well, stop. Look at what on your phone or on your map of what you have. I used to use a Garmin. That's another thing too. Is when it comes to play, bring a GPS. It's huge out there. You're not going to use. Don't rely on your phone to have service. You're not gonna bring a GPS. It'll save your life. Bring something that when your GPS, if it fails, it happened to me one time. I spent the night in the woods in the middle of Wyoming. It was terrifying. But I had everything I needed to stay warm, to start a fire, and I knew that I had gone west out of camp, and I knew there was a road to my east, but it was pitch dark, and my GPS was spinning. I must have hit like I think it was like that granite or whatever it is, that rock that makes your GPS not want to work.
I have no idea.
I'm telling you, I would walk 100 yards this way, and then my GPS would tell me I need to go back.
It's like you're in a magnetic field pulling that thing.
Yeah, and I was going back and forth, and finally I just sat down.
You want to talk about being a scary place mentally is whenever you're lost.
Yep, and I just said, I know there's a road to my east somewhere. And so I said, I'm just going to sit down, and I had everything I need to start a fire. I had an extra mountain home in my bag. I had more water than I needed to. I had a pistol with me. Started a fire. Slept out there. Sun came up. That's where I need to go. And I walked that way, and 7 miles later. Well, actually, it was interesting because I'd walked probably, I would say, a quarter of a mile, and my GPS kicked in. I must have gotten away from whatever it was that was causing my GPS to act funky, and it pointed me in the direction I needed to go. But by that point, I already knew because the sun was coming up. Yeah, and I ended up being like 7 miles away. Yeah.
So that's a really good point. That kind of segues into our next topic, which is a gear breakdown, right? Being in the backcountry, you need reliable gear. Mm-hmm. It's easy to kind of skate when you're 100 yards off the road and you're hunting, whitetail deer. But when you're in the backcountry, survival is important because things go south quick, right? Things break, gear can break down. Obviously, that's a hard lesson right there. If you only have one when it comes to GPS or a satellite phone or something like that, and it goes down and you have no other way of navigating, whether it's a compass or some kind of secondary navigation piece of equipment, you could be in a bad position very quickly.
Absolutely.
So what would you say as far as like essentials go that you're packing for you if you're going to go out and you can run 5 to 9 miles from your base camp? What are things that you have on your person that are like non-negotiable?
GPS.
And there's some great things out there now, right? So like the Garmin InReach is a SAC communicator. So you can text from that. I had buddies out in Colorado last year. They were texting me from the mountain when things are going on, it's cool, right? Because it doesn't work as good in thick vegetation, but when you get out in the open, you have that satellite communicator that allows you to navigate with the map system on it, but then it also allows you, it has an SOS system on it for emergencies. And then it allows you to text message key contacts within your contact list.
Yep. It was, I did not leave camp without it.
Yep.
I did not leave camp without my GPS. GPS, a good knife. I used the Havilon, or the Outdoor Edge.
Yep.
Something that can replace both blades. Survival kit, mainly matches. Or a lighter, I guess you could say. Just get a Ziploc bag, a lighter, fire starter. I put a compass in there as well. After my GPS went down, I got a compass as well.
Learn to use a compass in the woods, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Range finders, absolutely range finders, especially when that hilly country. It's tough to judge yardage. Binoculars, good boots, and a good pack.
What about as far as, so you're covering that distance, right? And obviously you got lost one night. You had to stay out in the woods that evening, packing out base layers and layering system for your clothing, because temperature and weather can change pretty dramatically in the mountains.
Absolutely.
I mean, like as far as base layers, and do you carry rain gear with you when you're typically out there? Like, how does that work for you when you pack out, when you're leaving your base camp?
So a smart person, yes. Okay. Smart person, yes.
You would encourage it.
Absolutely. What we would typically do is I would, like in the morning, I'd wake up and be like, it's chilly. Okay. Well, I'm going to wear something that I can, something underneath my hunting jacket. That way, when it gets hot, I can shed this outer layer. But a lot of times in the afternoons, you know, we would go out with a t-shirt, and then we'd throw it like a sweatshirt in our pack. And then, I mean, granted, that night that I got that I was out there, yeah, it was cold, but I had a fire. But so yes, the smart thing to do would be to layer and have something. But the thing is that you're covering such a long distance that we didn't really want to carry that extra weight just for layers. You know what I mean? So we would have like a cheap Walmart sweatshirt or t-shirt that was camo, and then we'd have our, you know, like our outer wear for like but we were typically hunting in. And
right.
We would start our day in that outfit, and then we would shed layers as the day went on.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think
build back up as the afternoon went.
I think that's where and especially if you're going to do this long term, right? Investing in quality apparel, whether it's your favorite hunting brand or outdoor brand, because there's a lot of outdoor brands that make technical outdoor apparel. Or prime example is like Fjallraven. They make really good systems, and a system, yes, expensive. But if you're going to be out there hunting, it's worth it. I think you learned a hard lesson in the rain on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was. We have a buddy of ours that's a gear guy, and he was telling me that a gear will make you a better hunter, or said something along those lines. And I said,
he didn't. I don't think he said it'll make you a better hunter, but it'll improve your hunt or something like that.
And I think what he was meaning is that it'll allow you to be out there longer. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to get it done with just that's how we all did it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, going back to Wyoming, I mean, we'd hunt with this t-shirt and a sweatshirt we bought at Walmart in Laramie before we pushed up into the mountains, before we were, you know, gone for 2 weeks. But we were sitting, it was pouring rain, and it was like 15 minutes goes by, and the water was like going down the tree, down my back, and then like I was soaked. I mean, my gear just failed me. I just sat there for actually like 15 minutes. Not because I was miserable, but I had to sit there long enough so that way he wouldn't be 100% right. Instead, he was like 95% right. So I ended up buying me some new gear.
Some quality gear. It does make a difference, especially when you're dealing with extreme elements, right? Whether it's extreme cold, because as soon as you get cold, and you're done. If your feet get cold, good luck recovering from that. That happened to me a few years back in Kentucky. My feet got so cold that I thought I was gonna be stuck in the tree, man. It's hard to recover from. So quality, footwear, like you talked about, and then investing in a quality layering system, whatever system that is for you. There's a lot of great options out there, but it does improve your comfort in the woods and in
Absolutely.
Bad weather.
And it could save your life in the long run. You know what I mean? All jokes aside, it could save your life in the long run. So the gear isn't going to make the hunter, but don't take that too literally and say, you know what, I don't need it. Yes, it could. If that's a risk you're willing to take, cool. It could very well save your life.
We see it every year, right? Every year there's a story of a group of hunters, an individual hunter who gets lost, who has to spend extra time out in the woods on their own, or, they end up unfortunately being recovered, and, something pretty drastic has happened. So you want to kind of eliminate that as much as you can with, that's one, having good outdoorsman, woodsmanship skills. That's being able to read a compass, navigate land, use the tools that you got. Cause you see a lot of people that just buy stuff to go out west, never used it,
and they have no idea,
never tested it. I would highly encourage you, if you're going to buy it, make sure it makes sense and you know and understand how to use it, especially when it comes to navigating the big backcountry.
Yep. And other gear, it's all up to, there's going to be guys say, hey, you need a fixed blade broadhead. You can't shoot a mechanical broadhead. You can't. Okay. Well, I shot all of my elk with a mechanical Rage 2 blade.
People aren't going to like to hear that, Zach.
Hey, that's fine. The only elk I ever lost was with a Slick Trick 4-blade fixed blade, and I put it right behind the shoulder.
Interesting.
So I think if you put it where it needs to go, use quality gear, obviously. 480 grain arrow.
That was going to be my next question. What do you look for in an arrow build?
So I shot for my elk, I shot a Rage 2 blade, a hypodermic, and then I shot one with the regular Rage, and then the other one with another Rage. But all my elk were killed with a Rage 2 blade. Easton Axis 5mm with blazer vanes.
It's hard to argue with that because I'm a big fan of the Axis 5mm. One, it's a durable arrow. It's just a reliable arrow. It is a little bit heavier, but they just, man, I've had good luck with those things when it comes to hunting.
They're tough to beat.
It is. The 5mm shaft in general for me is a great do-all shaft. As far as shooting distance, overall weight on it, yeah, maybe it's a little bit heavier, but especially if you're out there and you want something a little bit heavier and durable, the Axis 5mm is a great option. The 5mm in general is kind of what I opt for when it comes to a hunting arrow.
If I was to go next year for elk, and it won't be next year, but I'm hoping within the next 3 years to be back out there on a trip, I'll probably shoot the T2 by G5.
The G5 T2, yep.
If for the guys that are like, oh, this guy's an idiot, the Muzzy is a fantastic broadhead. There's a lot of guys that use those out there. Just the classic Muzzy 3-blade.
Yeah, I think people are very opinionated when it comes to gear, what works, what doesn't. Obviously, the biggest thing to consider is having a bow that's set up and tuned correctly.
Absolutely.
And then from there, you can really opt for what makes sense to you. There's a whole lot of great options when it comes to arrows, broadheads, vane configuration. You ask 10 different people, there's going to be 10 different opinions on how you should set it up and shoot an elk.
Absolutely. But you can have the best gear in the world. Like I said, the gear's not going to make the hunter. If you don't shoot your bow, a lot of your whitetail hunters, right? That's where the evolution of an elk hunter, he starts off as a whitetail hunter. Right? Many guys that the first animal they whack is a elk. Right. But majority of your guys, they're shooting 20 to 30 yards at a whitetail. It's good if you can get them within 30 yards, that elk. But a lot of times your guys are shooting from anywhere from 20. Well, let's just say this. I shot one elk at 7 yards. I shot one at 35, and the other one was at 52. So it can go from anywhere. You know what I mean?
That's quite a spread.
Yes. So if you're not shooting your bow consistently, and you just pull it out 2 weeks before the season to go on an elk hunt, you're in trouble. Shoot your bow from the moment. That's part of the planning. All right, cool. I felt comfortable with my bow at 60 yards shooting an elk. Without a doubt, that was my max, was 60 yards. But I shot every day, and I was accurate with it. And every broadhead every elk that I shot with that Rage 2 blade, right behind the shoulder, and the furthest one ran 80 yards and it dumped. That was it. The other ones ran about 20 to 30. That's
exactly what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we've covered all that. Let's get to I guess one of another good talking point is you've done all the work, you've put in the effort, you're out in the backcountry, you've located these elk, you've moved on the elk, you're comfortable, you're confident with your equipment, you shoot an elk, an elk's down. You're high-fiving your buddies. The work begins now.
Absolutely.
As far as when it comes to tracking an elk, is there anything that you do differently than you would, let's say, like a whitetail or something like that? Is it you apply the same principles, same concepts?
30 minutes. You know, if you see him fall and he's dead as a doornail, I mean, but 30 minutes, give him 30 minutes. If you're unsure of the shot, give him an hour. One thing I have noticed, and what I saw with that bull that I shot, he was a big 6x. I hit him where I needed to. He was quartered to a little bit, so I obviously I didn't hit him exactly where I needed to. Let's backtrack on that. But it entered behind the shoulder and clipped one lung, hit liver, and went out, gut the other side. And I think that he was a herd bull, and I think that when he got hit, he ran a lot further because he was running with the cows. That herd kind of. I'm not saying this is proven or nothing like that, but I think they carried him further than he should have went. You know what I mean? He was with other animals, and he was just trying to keep up with the herd. Other than that, I don't really see anything different when it comes to elk. Great blood trails. I mean, they're going to bleed like a deer. It's pretty much exactly the same.
Yeah. One of the things that's different too, though, is most of your whitetail hunters, you're used to shooting from an elevated position, right? Like a stand. So whenever you shoot from any kind of elevation like that, you're typically shooting for your exit, right? It's a little different when you're shooting something on the ground if you've never shot anything off the ground before.
Right. So you're probably not going to get a blood trail right off the bat. You might have to,
but the country's a little bit more open, so you can kind of watch something, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, exactly. You may not get blood for the first 10, 15 yards, but you were able to watch them for the first, 100. I watched all the elk I shot. They ran less than 100. I saw all 4 of them, or all 3 of them drop.
Wow.
I had a client. He shot one. I mean, center punched it. I mean, it was a beautiful shot. It was a herd bull. He had cows, and that thing ran and ran and ran. I mean, it ran like 450 yards, and we didn't have blood for the first 40 yards. We were just following the herd, and we could see blood. We could tell he was with the herd, and then at about 400 yards, he split up. He went left. The herd went right, and he was dead 50, 60 yards past that. But he stayed with the herd the entire time, and that's why I do believe that if you kill a herd bull and he's going a little further than he should, or you feel like he is, it doesn't mean you made a poor shot. Those cows, that herd might just be keeping him going. You know what I mean? And then he fell that way. But once you got blood, it's just like tracking a deer. It's just like it.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So what about the recovery process, right? This is really where the work really starts, or starts again, I should say, when it comes to actually, you've got an elk, it's down. Now you've got to start the process of, field dressing this thing. How do you, and it's not like you're throwing it on the back of an ATV or side by, taking it home and hanging it up and, what's the process look like for you whenever you've got to take, because you can't carry a whole elk by yourself. And if it's a group of 3, you guys are going to split the load up, obviously. But what's the approach for that? Because, you've got to go back to camp, drop meat off, come back. How does that look for you?
So in that pack, what you're going to bring out to the woods, I always brought game bags. I forgot about that. And those are a lifesaver because they keep flies and they keep dirt off your meat. But it still allows airflow to go through the meat to cool it down. So what I typically would do, there's 2 ways to do it. It's a gutless quarter, or you can gut it and then quarter it. I always gutted it and quartered it. There's people that are going to say, oh, there's no need to gut it. You're right. But it makes it easier for me. And so I always did it. I felt it made it easier to skin it. So what I'm going to do is I would skin it and I would lay that skin out that way. And then I would start on your back hams, and I would get them disconnected at the ball. There's a ball joint back there and everything. It's just like a deer. It just, everything's bigger. And then I would lay it on that hide, and then I would move forward to the front shoulder, and I would take that off and lay it down. And then your back straps. I mean, your back straps on an elk are that long.
Huge.
They're huge. And then your tenderloins that every bit of that long, you know. And then it's just packing meat out. It's just packing meat out.
So let me ask you this. So if you guys are making runs back and forth, do you leave somebody behind with the elk, or do you just mark it on the map and then you guys all come, you stay as a collective unit?
Absolutely.
Always.
And the reason being, and you know, I think a lot of people get lost, or a lot of people pass away in the woods because they went out alone. In your gear bag, a buddy should be part of your gear list.
Buddy system.
Buddy system.
Yeah.
Stay together, because, you know, the terrain is tough, but then you're putting 100, 150 pounds on your back, and that's extra weight on your ankles, on your knees, and everything. Like, I mean, it just takes one misstep and bang, you're down. And then, so
communication is very difficult out there. It's not like you're just going to drop send a text
Absolutely.
message. If you don't have somebody within, you know, arm or, you know, hearing distance of you, you could be out there for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that 5x I killed, for reference, he was 2.5 miles away from camp. Well, he was 2.5 miles from the trailhead, and then the trailhead was a mile to the road, and then our camp was 500 yards down from there. I shot him at 5:45 that night, and we had him quartered up and ready to go at about 7:30. And that's including, you know, the skin, the hide. I wanted to get a shoulder mount of him, so his cape, his head, and make sure when you're quartering your elk out as well, you have to have proof of sex on there. So antlers do not count for proof of sex. So you're going to have to leave a testicle on there. So bring out a testicle with you. But by the time it was all done, it was me and one other guy. We were back at camp at 3:30 the next morning. Done.
So you don't have a problem with, if you shoot it late in the evening, going and starting the process at night? Because I've heard from people, they're like, hey, we'll just wait and recover in the morning.
No, it's cooler at night. We have we have headlamps. We have good headlamps. We bring extra batteries and just get it done.
Yeah. So what about, that process, whenever you're taking that meat back to, let's say, your base camp, do you already have coolers prepped, or like, because it's hotter during that time of year, are you just hanging the meat in, or like, what is the process? Because you got to drop this meat off and then you've got to go back and recover the rest of the animal. How does that work for you?
So we always had a meat pole.
Okay.
Right. And so I can't remember the exact numbers, and I apologize for this, but they say that as long as it doesn't get over 60 degrees during the day for a certain amount of time, that the meat can hang for like 10 days. So we never really did that, right? We would just hang it, go get another load, hang it. And then if it was going to be, if it was cold, if it was 40 and 50, we didn't worry about it. But if it was close to 60 degrees, the next morning we would sleep in and we'd get up, and then there's a lot of places out west that are going to have like butcher shops that will allow you to leave your game with them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. That's kind of cool.
Yep. My buddy, he worked at a fly shop there in town, and they had a big walk-in cooler. And I was like, hey, can I leave my elk in here? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I just
that makes it nice.
Yeah, hung it up, left the tag with it. And then we went back up, and we actually ended up killing another bull the next morning. So that's
some work, buddy.
It sucked. Yeah.
It's like after the fact, you look back and you're like, wow, we did this.
Exactly. It's like it was incredible. It's an incredible thing to be able to do, but when in the heat of it, you're like, I don't know if I can. But when you do it, you're like, man, and it's something that nobody can take away from you. As long as you're legal, they can't take anything away from you. You know what I mean? So be legal when you're out there, and we were always legal. And that's what was cool too, is, you know, they can't take anything. They can't take anything. Nobody can take anything away from what you did, because you did it. And it's pretty badass.
The ultimate success.
The ultimate success.
That's awesome, man. So, you know, that kind of covers all of it. I mean, and the big thing for me is like the recovery process of that animal that you've shot, because again, that's when the work really starts, especially if you're, you know, 3 to 6 miles away from camp. You know, the buddy system, I think, is an important thing that could easily be overlooked by people. Make sure you've got, because I've had friends that have gone out west in groups and they end up splitting up, and, you know, those hunts didn't exactly end on good terms between individuals, just because things happen, right? And, you know, people spending the time in the woods, in the mountains alone, is never a good thing. I think it could just end badly, especially for somebody that's new out there, right? That's never done it before. So I think the buddy system is something really to consider if you're going out there, and making sure you've got, you know, if you guys are going out as a 4-man unit, you know, groups of 2 is probably a good idea.
And just the buddy system in general makes it easier to kill. I mean, when let's just say you're walking, you bugle, a bull bugles back. Okay, cool. You're going to want to stop, catch your breath, don't lose your mind. Okay, this is where I think he is. And then I'm going to give him about 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm going to try to see if he'll bugle on his own. If I can get a bull to bugle on his own without me having to talk to him, I'd much rather that. So while I'm waiting, I'm looking at, okay, this is where he is. Here's the terrain. This is what he's doing. Okay, it's in the morning, so he's probably pushing up. Okay, here's this big plateau, this, you know, this big whatever bench up here. I bet he's bedded up on here. So I think we should push up to this bench, and this is where we're going to call from. And then he bugles, and he's pushed up this way. And you're like, okay, he's pushing and working that direction. And you move up that direction and go, and you get onto where he's at. I think a lot of people, they hear a bull bugle, and they just go straight there, and then all of a sudden the bull bugles, and he's over here.
Well, and you're just chasing him.
And you're just chasing him. So stop. Think about what he's doing. Make a guess. I'm not saying you're going to be right. And go.
So it's a constantly evolving process of strategy.
Absolutely.
Just like a chess match.
When you're by yourself, it's very hard, because they can pinpoint you very, very easy. I mean, that spike bull, now granted, he was a spike bull, but I'll tell you what, it's some of the best tasting meat you'll ever, like best tasting elk you'll have. I cow called at him one time. Once he came into that meadow, and he had me pegged. I mean, he came to the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, that mewed one time at him. It was just
that fast.
So it's important to have, for example, when I was calling, I would have somebody 70 to 80 yards in front of me, and we would have a system. And you want to talk to your guys or your partner and say, hey, listen, if this bull is moving away and we're trying to get closer, I'm going to get my cow call, and I'm going to mew 3 times in a row. Like, mew, 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 mew. And then that tells the caller, hey, I'm moving up. And then you guys both move up together. So don't just stand there and wait. It's like turkey hunting. Don't let that bird walk out of your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If he's not doing what you want him to do, and you think you can get closer to push that envelope, you 3 times, that tells them, hey, I'm moving up. You guys both move up.
So you're working as a unit whenever you're doing this. There's a team aspect of this.
Absolutely.
And that's probably something that should be considered whenever you're choosing who you want to go hunting with. Absolutely. If you guys work together and communicate well.
Yep. That's
smart. That's a great way. That's a great approach.
We would do that all the time, you know, and you're just trying to push that envelope. And you know, for the guy that's calling, be on your toes. Have a bow with you as well. If you have a tag, obviously, but there's times where I killed my bull in that 5x5, and I was calling, and we had this bull just fired up, and he's sitting there raking trees, and I would cut him off, and I'd glunk, and glunking is not a bugle. It's hard to explain what it sounds like. If you look it up on any YouTube or whatever, and look up a bull glunking, when he's fired up and chasing and working cows, that's what he's doing. He's doing a lot of that. And I would just get my bugle tube, I'd take the reed out of it, and I'd hit my hand, boom, 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 and that's what it sounded like. It's glunk, glunk, glunk. And so I'd cut him off and do that. We kept moving forward. And finally this bull was like, all right, y'all are close enough. Y'all have disrespected me one too many times. I'm coming. And my buddy was like 80 yards in front of me, and that bull ran by him at 10 yards and stopped and was about 20 yards away from me, just and let out a giant bugle and was looking for that bull that was calling to him. And I'm just standing there. I have no bow in my hand. I have nothing. I'm just like, oh God, please don't come. You know? And finally he was kind of like, there should be an elk here. And that he put the 2 and 2 together and took off.
Gone.
But you know, if you're a caller, just because you're calling doesn't mean you're not going to get a shot. I had more bulls coming to me when I was calling and then if you're the shooter, and this is another mistake that I did and I made, is I did it twice. We were I had been seeing a lot of sign, and I was like, we need to come in here this afternoon, and it's not far from the camp, but I think there's an elk in here. And I called, and didn't hear a response. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I called one more time, and I looked down the hill, and like 50 yards away was this big bull coming, big bull. I looked at him, and then quickly turned to my buddy to let him know there was an elk coming. And when I turned back down, that elk was gone. Where he went, I have no idea. But I'm pretty sure that he was looking for a cow, and then he saw my stupid self, turned to tell my buddy there's an elk coming, and he left. So when you're a shooter and you see him, keep your eyes on him. You know what I mean? Obviously, you don't have to like get tunnel vision and not look at anything else, but be aware of where he and what he's doing the entire time. And I did it again the next year. I did it twice in 2 years, where 2 nice bulls were coming, and I took my eyes off of them to tell my buddy that they were coming. He doesn't need to know. He's got a call. He doesn't need to know. When you see that bull, don't worry about where your buddy's doing. Worry about what I need to do to kill this animal. And finally, when I started to get in that mindset, they stopped disappearing into thin air on me. I knew what they did and where they went.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was able to learn more about it too. Like, hey, you know what? He stopped. He hit his limit here, where he got to a point where he's like, I should see a cow, and he hung up and he worked downwind of me. Okay.
Constantly learning and evolving as a hunter.
Yep.
That's it. So one of the other things too I would look at considering is whenever you choose your hunting buddy, is making sure they are on board with your hunting style, right?
Absolutely.
Because we've seen this blow up, and I've seen it ruin friendships where people go out west, and it's just 2 different mindsets when it comes to hunting. Some guys are very aggressive. We're hunting till we can't hunt anymore. And then you got somebody that's a little more casual that's like, I'm just going out there for a good time and for the experience. And those don't necessarily mesh well whenever you guys are partnered up together, because, you know, whenever the expectations are, we're going out here and we're going to hunt and we're going to hunt every day, and you want to go out there and just kind of lollygag or, you know, just enjoy the experience. I've seen it blow up and honestly ruin some friendships. So I would consider who you're going with and what their capabilities are.
Absolutely.
And what the mutual expectation is amongst each other. And I think prior to going out there is spending some time together, maybe if you're doing some training together, so you can see one physical capability. Cause if you're just a PT stud and you have somebody that's not, and you can take and, you know, really hammer that mountain and they're huffing and puffing and struggling, you might need to look at, you know, having a different partner go with you.
Yeah. And
it just depends on your approach.
Yeah. And I when we went elk hunting, we went up there and we hunted hard. I mean, There ain't no.
It's a different mindset because we see it all the time through the shop. We get casual hunters that just want to go out there, and we get guys that hunt. And when they hunt hard. They've invested time, energy. They've studied the animal. They've studied the land. They're going out there prepared. And then you've got the other guy that just enjoys being in the woods and is happy to be there. They don't necessarily partner well when it comes to
100%.
hunting together.
Yeah, no. I mean, if my take on it is, if I'm spending that money, I'm not going to go sightseeing.
Exactly.
I'm going to take it in.
Right.
But yes, absolutely.
When you're out there to hunt.
Absolutely.
Not sleep in.
And yeah, I get that for sure. I think you have to be able to go with somebody that, no, the main thing is somebody that you can rely on. Somebody that you know that if something bad happens, let's just say you're walking.
They're level-headed and a capable individual.
Yeah, let's just say, I'm not saying this happens often or at all, but if you're walking and you come around a corner and all of a sudden there's a mountain lion at that dude's back, make sure that your buddy's going to be there fighting with you. You know what I mean? Not turn around and he's running up the hill the other way and
he's done kicked your leg out and he's on the move.
Yeah, no, it's silly, but you know, if
you need confidence in your partner.
Yeah, you need confidence. Hey, if something goes south, I remember we were working a bull, and I was more of that proactive. Let's go. And my buddy, my hunting partner, was like more of a laid back style thing, and we worked great together because we took two different hunting styles and we would make it into one. And there's some days when we needed my style of hunting, but there's other days where we needed his. And so if you're a guy that wants to go run and gun, just because your buddy's more of a laid back kind of guy, as long as you guys are humble enough and respect each other enough to be like, you know what, maybe this dude knows what he's doing, and both ideas work, you guys can come up with a pretty dynamite plan.
Yeah, I think that's a really good approach. You just have to there has to be a mutual understanding amongst each other, because we've seen it go, good and bad. And I've seen it, a handful of times firsthand. Just I go back to it, friendships ruined because they were just two different mindsets. I mean, it happens. So sure. I would just err on the caution. Just make sure you understand the mentality of the person you're going with and you're confident in them. Yep. So, all right, dude, we're wrapping it up. Let's look at, what is, as far as like, if you had one tip for somebody that came up to you and said, hey dude, I'm headed out west, I'm going elk hunting for the first time. Give me a piece of advice. What would you say?
Hunt your butt off, right? Go. Watch the thermals, watch your wind. When you're calling to a bull, he is constantly going to be trying to wind you. He's constantly going to try to do that. Am I saying that every elk is going to come and wrap downwind of you? No, but I've seen more elk try to wrap downwind of me than not. Sometimes he's going to be fired up. He's going to come running straight in. Sure. Those moments when I say it's the easiest thing you've ever done, and it's just meant to happen. But constantly watch your wind. Bring a wind indicator. Constantly watching your wind. Second one, and it's caught us. It bit us in the butt a couple times. It's an elk until it's not. So if you bugle and you're like, oh, that sounds like a hunter. Until you can verify it's a hunter, think it's an elk. There was one time we were walking through and I was cow calling, all of a sudden I heard like a mew, 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 mew. And I'm like, what is this idiot doing? And I'm thinking to myself, like, I have never heard an elk talk like that. Then I thought, well, I've never heard a hunter talk like that either. So I told, there's 3 guys with me. I was like, hey, you get up here. And I'm just going to step back a little bit. And I start calling excited, real fast, mewing again. Out pop a cow and 2 calves. And at first we were like laughing, like, what's this idiot doing? What are you idiots doing? You know what I mean? So it's a cow, or it's an elk until it's not, right? So keep the wind in your favor. It's a cow it's an elk until it's not. And don't go the first week.
Great information, man. A wealth of knowledge, Zach. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and sit down with me this morning. You just, like I said, man, a true hunter through and through, an excellent bow hunter, and incredible woodsmanship skills. I appreciate it, man.
Well, hey, I appreciate having me on.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's another episode of The American Bow Hunter. Appreciate everybody for either watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify. Make sure you guys drop some comments, give us some feedback. Let us know some some topics you would like covered. And make sure you guys are liking and subscribing and giving us some ratings. As always, we appreciate you guys following along. We'll talk to you guys and see you all in the next episode.